Welcome to Live from Center Stage. Today's guest, we have Stu Goodis and Tom Glenn.
Thank you.
Great
Welcome.
to see you. Thank you.
Thanks. Good
Today, what are we going to see on stage today?
Well, you're going to see mostly an assortment of the songs that Stu and I had written, mostly, in fact, entirely individually. I write songs, he writes songs. We have 4 CDs, and we're going to feature that music heavily. We might do a cover tune, maybe 2, I forget, but that's it. So, and we did the songs originally with just 2 guitars, 2 jazz guitars. And then since then, we've had the good fortune of working with Kareem and Martin and playing. Actually, we're performing right at the Falmouth Jazz Fest, which is a great event. Tomorrow we'll be at Peg Noonan Park. Anyway, a little plug, but the music is, I like to think of it as melodic, interesting, but there's always room for expression and improvisation. And Stu and I kind of work well together because we kind of come from different places. So it kind of the music complements each other, and we add it all up, and we come up with a CD, and we record it. And we've been featured in places like Pandora and that sort of thing. So
let's talk about 34 years ago, back in Philadelphia, at the college.
Tom was my introduction to jazz, really. I was 17 and coming away from playing a lot of rock and pop. Went into music school, and Tom was the guitar instructor and gave me a good introduction to playing jazz and jazz standards. And so that was a few years worth of guitar lessons, basically. And we stayed in touch over the years. And about 5 years ago, we decided, hey, let's get together and actually do some playing. And that led to
Jazz Dance.
Jazz Dance, the first CD we did. And we each write half the CD, and I live in California, he lives in Philadelphia, and we do it over the phone and over the internet, and then manage to meet up and put it together.
Amazing. So West Coast, East Coast?
Yes.
I saw Venice Beach, or maybe Venice, you were playing in Venice?
Could be.
And then I saw the wine, you were playing wine. That seems like a good gig.
that was actually our wedding, our West Coast wedding. Mine and my wife's West Coast wedding in Venice.
Then I saw a truck driving in a Falmouth house, so I assume maybe.
Yeah, that was my house. That was and actually it's in Plymouth, and I lived there. I moved up to New England more than 20 years ago because I was the district sales manager for a company called Roland musical
Roland,
instruments.
that's keyboards.
Yeah, digital music instruments, and I lived in Plymouth while I did that. So I started reaching out and meeting people in the Cape and Plymouth area, and somewhat in Boston too. And that's how we got involved up here. In fact, the person who taught both of us, me at an earlier time and then Stu later, was a great jazz guitarist named Pep Martino. He was performing at the Falmouth Jazz Fest, so I went over to say hello, and then I said, hey, this is cool, why don't we get ourselves involved? And we did. Everything just came together at that point. And, and we've done a lot of other things since then too, a lot of performances.
Let's talk about Jazz Dance. That's where it kind of started.
Right.
I like what you wrote in the liner notes, how you described what the music was going to be. You're talking about traditional jazz with improvisation. You wanted to, like exactly what you said just a minute ago, where you wanted to have that kind of feeling. Now, 30 Years is one of the songs, which, like you said, culminates the process. So.
That piece of music started in a lesson with Tom. We were talking about Bach and modern jazz and how the two relate, so I composed the piece then and set it aside for 30 years. And it came to the surface, and I expanded on it, and it became one of the tracks for that CD.
Then the next record you did a year later, I think it's called Continuum, or was it?
Dialogue was
Dialogue.
the second one, yeah.
Dialogue.
Right.
Then Continuum.
Yes, right.
In 2011.
Right.
That's right, yeah, you were pretty good. I don't know how you keep it, I'm having trouble remembering this, but yeah, that's right.
So, and then we're here today for a new song.
Yes.
I imagine.
Correct.
That was just released in May, and we're doing, several pieces from that CD. Don't Let the Dust Settle and all that stuff, and just when these guys learn, because we, out here we play with these guys once a year, so they barely get to learn the tunes. It's amazing how they pull it together. It's good. So we had one little, these guys, when I say these guys, Martin flew out with Stu from LAX. Thursday, we rehearsed for 2 hours Thursday night, and that was it. That was the extent of it.
And I know Kareem from Burt Jackson, so
Yeah, sure, yeah.
he's local. So again, you've got West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah,
again.
yeah, it's a mix.
It's a
Definitely
battle.
mix, yeah.
Or it's a nice.
It makes a nice chemistry.
Chemistry,
It does,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because you do have different styles,
Definitely,
stylistically.
yeah.
There
yeah.
is 2 different composing styles between Tom and I,
Mm-hmm.
and it does meet nicely in the middle. We're like-minded in that way.
So do you look at it as a conversation or an argument sometimes? Is it kind of like
Definitely a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's ongoing. I mean, we could see, even if as we play songs from one performance to another, it feels like it's changing, evolving.
That's true, yeah. The songs from the first CD have grown into different directions.
And we still want to play the songs from 5 years ago, and as well as the ones that are new.
How would
True.
you say you've evolved from the first record into the fourth record?
Well, we walked in, this is my opinion, but we walked in with a bunch of tunes. A lot of them we already had in our pocket from 30 years, so we kind of adjusted those tunes to fit. And then we collaborated on one song our whole time, and it was on that. It was called Jazz Dance.
Right.
Which we don't seem to play too much. I don't
I
know why.
like the groove on it. It's really...
It's actually more
it's a
of
fun tune.
It is
a
a fun
duet
tune.
song.
Yeah, it is.
And
There's some songs that ended
Right.
up, you're right, lending themselves to 2 guitars. And,
Instead of a quartet or
yeah.
a trio.
As the subsequent CDs, I compose with Tom in mind. So I'm writing with that sound, with a player in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So my composing style altered as we progressed. And it changed. Each CD, I find myself writing different things.
The fourth record, to me, sounds really relaxed. It sounds really... It's a little more laid back than the first album.
Yeah, it is.
The
You're
first
right.
album's a little more jumpy, and
Right.
It is, yeah.
but it does sound like you guys have gotten comfortable with each other. And
Yeah, some things work really well in a guitar duo, and then other things, if you try to achieve a certain sound, it's not going to really happen. So you learn what is success. And
it's
what's
true.
not.
You could tell you've learned a lot after the first 3 records, how to maybe make it work more.
And I got to give kudos to Stu, because he's done really in fact, all of the recording, and he does a great job. And we just run direct. And so when we finally get together, we've gotten together in a hotel in New York or whatever, he just brings the laptop, boom, we plug in.
So you've done a lot of the records where you both stayed on both coasts and put it together on...
We've only
through the
recorded
computer?
in the same room together. So
Oh,
it'll be
they are
in
live.
my studio or in Tom's home.
They are live, or
It's
when we record, it's
playing.
live. There's no
Yeah.
you're not doing it over...
No.
Because technology has gotten well enough.
It
or good
has.
enough
The style is very improvisational, so you need that element of
Right.
spontaneity.
liveness. Plus, that's our
That's
sizzle.
true.
That's a sizzle for us. I
And
mean,
that
and it
was-
is, and performing and playing. I mean,
Right.
that's what it's all about.
And there was one weekend, I happened to be in New York, and I brought a guitar and a laptop, and Tom drove up from Philadelphia.
Poor
at
guy in the
time,
room next door.
and we recorded 4 or 5 tracks that afternoon. And
Yeah.
it was
was
great.
cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I noticed that there isn't a Cape Cod song, or at least not an obvious one, on the new record. Because the other 3 have
Yeah.
Cape Walk.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but it's true. Yeah.
What's the other? Nantucket Sound.
Right.
there's
Waltzing on Buzzards
Waltzing
Bay.
on Buzzards Bay.
Well,
Yeah.
perhaps
And
'cause-
Beantown Samba.
Yeah,
too, is
Tom
another one.
relocated to Philadelphia in the past year. So.
Yeah, they were obvious songs that I had written over the 30-year period, and mostly 20-year periar that I lived in New England. So.
But I didn't see a Cape Cod song on the new record. Maybe there
You're
is
right,
one.
that's a
Maybe
good
there's a
point.
private joke. Maybe there is.
No, not that I'm aware of. No, we kind of cut
be
it all
playing,
loose. And
we'll be playing one tonight.
Good.
yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you are in Dennis, and we're
Yes.
glad you're here.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you for coming. Any
you.
any websites we need to plug before we get to hear you?
Your site?
Well, yeah, TomGlennMusic.com, which has a Goodis Glenn page on it. It has all the information, all the latest, data and stuff like that. And you can hear a lot of music on
And where are
there,
you
too.
headed next? Where's the next?
Well, when is the next one?
That's a good question.
We're finishing a
It'll
bunch of
be-
big flurries, so I guess we
It'll
have
be
to work
something
on
on the West Coast, I think.
I think
Yeah, that's cool.
I saw something. I can't remember exactly either. I was looking. You're going to New Jersey, or?
Oh, well, I'm doing when I came back to Jersey, I reunited with a bunch of people, from way back, and We actually did some of the songs that I had written for the first CD and some other tunes as a, well, it's a quartet with some brass and some flute, that sort of thing. And that's I'm doing a concert for a group called Jazz Bridge. And that's an organization around Philadelphia that they hold concerts monthly and they raise money for indigent jazz people and stuff. So it's a very worthwhile cause.
Are you still with the college? Was it New?
No, New Power Conservatory. No, unfortunately, Dr. Newpower died a few years ago, so that's the way of things. It just went away. But he was our mentor. I mean, I studied there as well as eventually taught there. We also had that. We shared that influence and also shared the Pep Martino influence when we both had studied with him. So we can, you know, there's a lot of stuff to talk about between the two of us, and
there's
it helps.
a real parallel in the development.
Yeah, we don't even have to say things half the time. We kind of know where the other's coming from and that sort of thing.
Well, the student has become the master, right? He's.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I always tell everybody. You know, I taught this guy. Now I'm struggling to keep up with him. You know, but it's great. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, I think.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
It was good. And not that it was just me. Obviously, a lot of people influenced him.
And New Power was your?
Well, he was not a guitar teacher.
Oh.
He was a, he had, I won't get into it too much, but he had a European-style conservatory. Small school. You were under the magnifying glass all day. You had to perform twice a week, and you listened to Gregorian chant in the morning, and it was just like, you know, music, music, music. So it was serious stuff, yeah. It was very good. Unusual case, and unfortunately, there's not many of those places around anymore.
Right,
So,
it's,
you know.
yeah, very old school.
It wasn't
approach to
alienating, it
teaching.
was very warm, but, you know, you were also very disciplined and that sort of thing, too.
Well, it seemed like a nurturing environment.
Yes,
definitely
it
did.
definitely was,
Very
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And gave you different things to listen to and think about.
Yes, it was open. I mean, we got hammered with Bach, you know, even though we had no intention of playing Bach, but, you know, that sort of thing.
You haven't used Bach in one of your pieces?
He did.
He
He started with
It's in my head all the time. If
Yeah.
I'm playing, it's somewhere
I hear a
coming out.
fugue. I hear a little fugue-ish
well,
things
yeah,
going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have, yeah.
Sure.
It's,
How
it's
can we
part
not
of
be
your,
influenced
your
by that?
fiber.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, your music reminds me of some of the stuff I heard on Windham Hill.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Windham Hill line?
Sure we do, yeah.
I miss that. I don't know if I see it as much, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there was some
Good
pretty
quality.
strong guitar players in that.
Sure.
There's so much out there. It's just, and now with YouTube and things like that, it's just
know.
overwhelming. You know.
But it's helpful to students. They can look at someone or hear
It's great,
someone.
but you know the problem is be careful what you wish for. You know? You're a 13-year-old kid blowing you away. You know, it's like.
There isn't a music fest coming up. Is there a fest you're doing on your schedule?
Not at the moment, no.
play
Other
a
than
few.
this weekend.
Yeah, we're
The
playing.
Falmouth Fest.
Yeah, we're
There you
finishing.
go,
Well,
there you go.
yeah, tomorrow we're going to be.
Yeah, it's this weekend in
Yeah.
Falmouth. and
Well,
it's-
tomorrow we're at Peg Noonan Park in a tent from 12 to 2.
So people can come see you tomorrow.
Yes,
And this
right
will be
on
our
Main Street.
4th year there.
Fifth
Year
It's our
at the
fifth year,
Falmouth
yeah.
Festival.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
found a home.
I tell you, the Cape is a cool place. You appreciate it too because you came from elsewhere. It's a very cool place. The people are just, you know, they're not into the usual stuff. They're into the arts, and they get out and, you know, really. I mean, it's hard. You know, it's hard to get people's attention anymore in the world we live in, and here you can do that. It's a nice thing. Seems to be important to the people here, you know, to have the live performance and live art. And it's really kind of invigorates you when you
A
come
cultural
here.
community. It's great to have that. I
Yeah,
think.
it is.
And it's important to have that. I'm glad we have it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
And thank you for coming.
Okay,
Goodis
wow.
and Glenn.
Yes.
Here we are, live
Yes.
from center stage.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Great.